through the whole travel experience on your own, with your smartphone, your computer, etc. So those are just some ideas that I'm throwing out. Bringing the positioning, the access, the destination management, urban destinations, the rejuvenation, the MICE sector, cultural behavior of hosting guests, role of innovation, and new business models. So with that, I open the floor for discussion. Abraham.
Thank you, Professor. As always, quite illuminating. Oftentimes, we see tourism development clustered, as you say, in cities. And while that's important, sometimes it's a drawback or it's a hindrance to overall development in the country. We'd like to see a diffusion of economic benefits to smaller towns, to villages, and otherwise. And as cities become, especially large ones, become the draw for tourism, the question becomes, how do you link cities to become departure points so that you might have a MICE event, for example, attracted to a city? Can we link arrivals into villages, little towns, to go out and benefit the sphere, the other areas around it? And how could this be done? And we need to think of ways. From our standpoint, we're working on economic development through tourism. This is quite an important area for us, to see how we can take people out with their spending, because the beauty of tourism is as tourists travel the different regions in a given destination, given country, they leave money behind. And that's very different from building a factory in a town where that town benefits from the presence of that enterprise. So we need to think of ways, and there may be a number of different ways, how you achieve economic benefits for a country overall by looking at the city as a departure point.
Absolutely. I mentioned earlier the gateway concept, the connections, the interrelationships. You know, I remember I had a project in Cancun 15 years ago. Cancun was really concerned. They had become totally urbanized. You know, Cancun was invented out of nothing. It was like a Las Vegas, you know, by the Caribbean Sea. And we looked at all kinds of sources of rejuvenation. They already had some of them. They had a wax museum. Could they have more attractions? Could they develop the MICE industry? Yeah, they were interested in that. But the key was expanding the airport. But we found out that the real source of rejuvenation was not in the main Cancun complex. It was in the entire Riviera region, you know, the other parts of the sea in the within 50 to 75 kilometers, you know, from Cancun, as well as archaeological and very, you know, excellent, you know, scuba diving, etc. So the source of rejuvenation for Cancun was not Cancun per se. It was in all of the other areas within the Quintana Roo, you know, region. Other comments? Yes, Ignacio.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for all your topics and all your suggestions and for your talk. I think has been very inspiring. I just would like to add or to just to put some questions on the table, considering your points, your 9 points or some. First of all, I would like to say that there are big differences among cities and among continents. There are completely different ways of managing the tourism activities in Europe, in Asia, and in the Americas. So it represents that all different ways of approaching to the management of all these realities. For example, you have mentioned about the importance of the meeting industry in the States.
Yeah.
In Europe, the thing is on the contrary. I mean, is the leisure market that began and after became the meeting industry activity, and now Europe is the first, as a region, as a worldwide region, is number one in hosting congresses and conventions and meetings industry. So differences are very, very, very remarkable in everywhere. You also have mentioned about the different way of considering the management of cities. And I think that all cities, we have big challenges now from considering the management, the city tourism to city marketing. I think that nowadays is much more, I would say, accurate to develop the American way of understanding the management of the cities than the traditional tourist one. I mean, we have to include not only tourism in the management, we have to include citizens, and we have to include companies as a matter of our goals, not just as some stakeholders that are there. No, I think that we have to take care of all these three components, because otherwise these initial problems that are taking place in some places in the world would be increased, and it's not good for the industry and for the citizens, of course. I also consider that we should try, and probably this knowledge group or working group that will be created now in Luxor could be a big opportunity, a great opportunity, is to talk about what do we consider a city is. What is a city today? Nowadays, Chongqing is supposed to be the #1 city in the world, 33.7 million inhabitants. But if you see the Chongqing municipality, there is absolutely different way of understanding about European cities and probably about other parts of the world. I mean, the Chongqing area is more a province than a city itself. There are many districts all around the downtown or the central of the city. So we should reconsider what city is. For example, in Barcelona, since 2 years ago, we have developed a new way of promoting the whole destinations, considering the city, not only the city, the 1 million inhabitants, but all the metropolitan area, all what we call the province area. And now there is not two different bodies promoting the real city, but only one. We have joined forces, we have joined budgets, we have joined all the action plan to develop only one action plan, only one project. So I think this is a big challenges for cities to consider the whole real area of a city. Yolanda knows that we think from ECM that comparable data is absolutely a must. We need to know and to be able to compare peers with peers and apples with apples, because otherwise it would not be possible to understand the whole picture. And we need to have common methodology to approach this reality. This is why from WTO and ECM and Modern University, we are trying to develop, or we are developing a project in trying to harmonize all the methodology for getting data on that. I think it's very important. The last contribution is that 2 weeks ago took place the 5th summit of the WTCF, the World Tourism Cities Federation, in Chongqing. And as the professor knows very well, there is a big organization in the States called DMEI, Destination Management International Association. And in Europe, we have European Cities Marketing. 3 big organizations that deal with city tourism, and the main object of all these 3 organizations are to share knowledge as the main core business of our organization. I think that the contribution of all these 3 organizations under the umbrella of WTO could be a big contribution. I suggest, or I ask Mr. Chairman, to consider having an official approach to WTCF and to DMEI to get more involved in the affiliate members working group. Thank you.
That's a very, very good analysis of the situation. By the way, DMAI is a affiliate member. I don't know about the federation, if they're affiliate member.
I tried with World Tourism Cities Federation, but you know that the Chinese government is not providing letters of government support to anybody there. It's very hard. So we are collaborating with them through a memorandum of understanding, but not through affiliate members. It's through destination management. And they are doing this benchmarking study. And we had, as you know, another project with European Cities Marketing, and our ambition always was to have the three organizations and to work with all of them. Right. But we can, even if World Tourism City Federation cannot become an affiliate member for the time being, it doesn't really matter because they're important enough. And in China, they cannot do anything else, so that's the situation. So we can try. But the thing is that we haven't had the contact ourselves.
Well, already DMAI and ECC, you're meeting and talking. There's also discussions between DMAI and Japan, who's interested in developing destination management. DMAI has two initiatives. One is called Destination Next. It's exactly what Ignacio, to recognize you got to go beyond marketing into management. You got to get into economic development. You have to get into transportation systems, all those areas. They also have another program that I've had some involvement in. It's called Destination First. The destinations that are in the early formation stage, what could they learn from others? Eduardo, you look like you wanted to make an intervention.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'd like to, first of all, join Ignacio in his analysis, but thank you very much, Ignacio. But I think especially in some of the proposals he is hinting. Proposal number one is that the concept of city, to me, is too limited. Urban is a much better concept. We are facing a situation in which 80% of the world population by 2030 will be urban, not city, but urban, and tourism is going to be linked to that. And I think we have not quite dedicated enough effort to the phenomena of urban tourism that Ignacio so very well described. Second, I also would like to join Ignacio for a specific proposal, which is in the past, both UNWTO, but also George Washington University, have been very active in a very specific thing, which is when a subject is approached to define what are the basic concepts so that we talk the same language and we will know what we're talking about. So I remember that in 1989, most of you were not born in there. In 1989, specifically October 1989, George Washington University had a wonderful visionary conference. It was not a conference, it was a think tank, to define what was tourism policy and what was coming in the area of tourism policy. And that changed the world. The word tourism policy was not very used then. All the countries were engaged in marketing plans for tourism. We began talking about tourism policy, and that really changed a few things. Then WTO, 2003, we organized a tourism think tank about what was a destination. We all talk about destination, but we use it very ambiguously. So what was a destination? That also changed a few things. How do we do that? It was not a big conference. We took some 50 plus stakeholders who were involved with destinations, both managers and thinkers, academicians, and we discussed for 3 days, and we came to a UNWTO preliminary definition of what we understood as a destination. We narrowed down the concept, which facilitates the communication. And then again, as I mentioned yesterday, in 2004, George Washington University again did a fantastic visionary conference on development. So we began talking about tourism and development with from a better enlightened point. So again, my proposal is, why would it be that difficult to go for a WTO preliminary work in defining what is the concept and what important issues are there within the concept, so we can begin a fruitful discussion under the umbrella of WTO about this. And Don, I would like to mention, I am aware that Don Hawkins and George Washington University, and now perhaps New York University, are involved in several very advanced concepts of how cities should be, walkability cities and things like that. So I would like to suggest that why don't we join forces on how to talk about urban tourism, about innovation and the future of tourism in that context. Again, not with an intention of guess the future, that's silly, but with an intention of construct, make the future. So let's talk a very important issue, urban tourism, and then let's talk about how do we envision the future of those urban tourism destinations. That's a suggestion. Thank you.
Great. By the way, Ignacio made a very interesting point. In the United States, we really began with the MICE approach, and then it was very difficult to get these early stage DMOs to recognize leisure travel. But in Europe, you started with leisure, and then you came around to MICE. But we need to integrate, both areas. It's the same place, that are being used. One last point that was made at the Marrakesh City Tourism that really impressed me. Yes, the MICE type market really makes an economic impact in terms of room revenue and local spending. But the more important part of MICE is the contribution to transformation of the economies and introducing new technologies, new approaches, and so on, which is much more powerful as a force for change than simply the spending that those tourists, which are important, make in the city. But the transformation through events and through conferences and so on is a fantastic, important component, and we're actually helping to change the world, in that way. David.
Obviously, I want to mention the youth travel element to all of this and make sure that we include thought about how you embrace the youth travel element as well. And I'd just like to pick up on a couple of comments where we've been talking about the Airbnb and the shared economy. And what we've seen in our research is that there are direct correlations between districts and areas that don't have comprehensive legislation on hostels and on budget accommodation. And where it is difficult to put budget accommodation into an area, you see an increase in the use of the shared economy of Airbnb. You also need to look at the economic value of having young people in your destinations, because what we call economic leakage, or rather the lack of economic leakage from young people, is very significant, because they tend to spend money in the smaller privately owned businesses. They don't spend their money in the big conglomerates where often the profit element is being taken out of the destination. So the value of their dollar is actually far higher. And the other factor, sorry, just coming back to the hostels as well, is there is a very considerable economic benefit to the region in which the hostel is placed. And that is for two reasons. Firstly, they will often go into B-grade locations. They will often take over old buildings that can't be used for other things, old hospitals, old office blocks, and convert them into very, very good quality budget accommodation. They create jobs. And we also know that there is a hostel in the UK that did an economic impact survey on their hostel. And they estimated that for every 8 jobs they created inside the hostel, they created 1 in the region outside. Excuse me, it supports local shops, local businesses, local hires. And there are streets in Amsterdam where I live where you can actually see the entire street is being supported by the 600-bed hostel that's in the street. So I know there's a lot of NIMBYism, there's a lot of people don't want hostels in their backyards and one thing or another, but in actual fact it's becoming a very acceptable quality product now, and I'd urge all cities to look very closely at their legislative thought processes on budget accommodation and attracting the young people into destination. Thank you.
Comments? I'll just follow up on what Eduardo said. A question for us. But should this be the city tourism network, or should it be the urban tourism network? I'm hearing arguments that urban is a much broader concept that reflects what we want to do. Oh, Ignacio, go ahead, yeah.
Thanks again. I was exactly trying to make a special remark on that point of Eduardo about urban and city. I understand and I agree with the approach of urban, but from the marketing point of view, it's very important to have in mind that the brand, the real brand that is positioned worldwide is the city, the name of the city. So you can have different realities managing the whole area, but from the marketing point of view, it's very important to maintain the city brand. And just may I? Yes. Coming back to one of your points in this agenda or the topics about the new business models, I share with the colleagues in the board yesterday that I think that cities, we have a big challenge in including in our proposals for our tourists the sharing economy, the collaborative economy, the real economy, sharing economy. I think that the DMOs, the tourist boards, the city marketing organizations, and so on, we have to include in our proposals, in our promotion, in our communication, all this reality, because young people love it, but everywhere love it and needs it. So destinations will be much more competitive if they include in their proposal having sharing economy proposals. Other thing, completely different thing, is what some companies do, and they say they are sharing economy, and they are just business with a new model. This is completely different. And I think this is in some parts of the world, in Europe, and especially in some countries in the southern part of Europe, these new platforms that call sharing economy, but they are not, they are just business, we have big problems with them, because they are promoting, or they are illegal companies in these countries, and they are promoting companies that are not legal and are illegal in these companies. So I think we should also, in city tourism, but in general, to distinguish what sharing economy is with the other ways of platforms. Thank you.
That also reflects a lot of the small businesses that are in cities that are illegal as well. They're part of the informal economy. And a challenge that we have, not just in cities, but in rural areas, is how do we take these small businesses that are outside of the legal environment, they're not regulated, they don't want to be regulated, how do we actually bring them with services, with access to finance, access to knowledge, into the regular economy? Because that's a huge new market, if you will, for taxation, but I think that's the reason why they're not in there. So we've got to find other motivations for them to become regulated, become part of the official systems.
Can I just pick up on that? You're absolutely right, but the important thing is workable, sensible legislation. And we saw this a few years ago in a certain major capital city that shut down all of the hostels and then produced unworkable legislation over a 2 to 3 year period, where the requirements for a hostel were significantly worse than the requirements for a hotel. And it made the hostels completely financially non-viable, so nobody went there, and what they've got is a massive influx of Airbnb and the sharing economy. So if you make the legislation workable, viable, understand what is needed, because the requirements for a hostel are different to that of a hotel, then you can make it. And I think one of the best ways of tackling it, it's a little bit like the piracy of videos. They tackled that by making it readily available and cheaply. Do the same with budget accommodation.
Good morning, everybody, and Yolanda and Mons. I'm just going to address, and I want to bore you, some of the point number 10, other topics for your further discussions in the future. There are lots of trends which will have an impact on city tourism. I'm just going to give you 2 or 3. One is, first of all, there is a trend called city humors. City humors are consumers that are coming from rural locations flow into the cities, and this might have an adverse effect on tourism, okay? Low economic, low educated standards, etc. There's also a trend called city resorts. I mean, if you go to Singapore nowadays, they are one of the pioneers. You have actually a resort, what we normally see outside the city environment, in the city. So city resorts is another trend. Another one is that you actually capitalize on a number of facets of the city. For instance, health tourism. If you combine that with wellness, some of the hospitals are transforming and creating sideways what we call well-pital wellness. That again could bring more revenue to the city. One interesting thing in Britain for a number of years, and mixed results, is city money. To try to really to rejuvenate the economy and trying to use local money. So tourists spend the money in Bristol, for instance, an example in England. So city money to try to capture and to maximize as much revenue as possible for the city. Obviously, the impact of technology is incredible. Again, intelligent destinations is a huge topic as well. Another one just that I don't want to bother is, for instance, eco-urban environments. So we're talking about urban environment, a city, but to have pods of ecological environments in the city. So there are lots and lots of trends that could fill that other topics. Thank you.
Excellent. Also, the cities today are clogged with automobiles, and we are looking at more efficient mass transit, but a lot of the young people today don't even have driver's licenses, and they don't need automobiles. And the question is, in 5 to 10 years, as we have these autonomous vehicles and more advanced transportation systems, we don't need automobiles, which, by the way, in some cases consume 17% of the household income, and they're only used 5% of the time. Doesn't make any sense at all. What are we going to do with all those parking garages? I don't know if they can be converted into hostels. And think of all of the parking spaces that we could, change. They could become bike lanes. They could become parklets. So many changes that we need to be thinking about now that are going to occur in the next 5 to 10 years. It'll transform city living. Yes?
I was thinking about from the whole picture of sustainable tourism, and cities are so important, and you've seen what is happening in cities. And recently in Iceland, it's a massive booming now, and they are concerned about that. Is there a capacity, top capacity, or a level of tourists that your city should achieve, should reach or not, balance with the environment that is not affecting the local people? Is there a maximum? I don't know if the cities, you are talking about that with all those cities organization, but what happens when is the top of Barcelona? How many tourists you are willing to have? It's as much as many money you make. Where is the balance? And I don't know if there is a capacity, because we are facing massive tourism travel in the future, and I don't know if the prevention of the city and the capacity without destroying actually the culture that is the citizens is going to be considered. Maybe it would be an interesting topic for those organizations to consider, or maybe you are already talking about it.
One, just to tease my Kishi and my Japanese friends, and how many, there are any Brits here? Are you British? Are you British? Have you been to, you're not Welsh, are you Welsh? Okay, have you been to Monmouth? Oh, well done, you are Welsh. Have you been to Monmouth? Monmouth?
Yes.
Monmouthshire, near the border with England.
Oh, Monmouthshire?
Yeah.
Yes, I actually live in Monmouth.
They, just an example, well,
Well, my
they
mother
actually
does,
now
anyway.
have the record, the world record of more QR in the city,
QR codes.
Yes, codes. They've got about 1,000. So you go to the city, you've got the monument, you've got something, good information. You just use your smartphone, and you've got the QR code with the information. So, there are so many things that actually can be helped, to differentiate the city, destination, all that. So you want to know what information about the cathedral, park, whatever, about the restaurants, you just use your smartphone, QR, and that's it. So there are so many examples. Well done, Wales.
We can allow another intervention perhaps, and then we'll have to break.
There's a very interesting topic that has brought up here and has not been properly discussed, which is the massification, the tourism massification of certain cities, which are phenomena which are affecting Barcelona, definitely, but also some other cities around the world.
Yes, I think that this phenomenon is affecting cities, but not only cities. This is the first consideration. I mean, we are focusing our interest in cities, but it's affecting some leisure and sun and beach destinations worldwide. So first, it's not a problem of cities. It's a worldwide problem, because as WTO shows every time, the figures of tourists worldwide will increase in 4 or 5% during the next years. So this will be a worldwide phenomenon. It's not only a city phenomenon. The second approach or remark about that is, I think that the theoretical efforts to define the top level of the destinations could be useful, but what is more useful is to manage the situations in the concrete situation. This is what I consider is, yeah, exactly, what every city in every place are doing. In Barcelona, we are having different, for example, different strategies. And I would say that in Europe, I don't know the other realities in the States and Asia, because there are some cities in Asia and the States that have similar problems. But the urban structure, the culture of the city is completely different. But focusing in Europe, I think there are two kinds of big cities in Europe. I would say what we call, say, the kingdom, the capital of kingdoms of empires that they have a completely different urban structure than those, I would say, medium-sized cities like Amsterdam, Munich, Stockholm, Barcelona, that we have a completely different way of urban. And I think that the measures to try to avoid this massification are completely different in both different types. Coming back to Barcelona, we are developing different strategies to try to avoid this situation. A long-term ones, a medium, and an impact, a tactic ones, depending on the situation. From the, I would say, long-term decisions or strategies, we are modifying now the urban regulations in order to avoid concentrations in certain areas. This is also why it's so important to take care about these news platforms that they say they are contributing to spread tourism through the city. And in our case, it's not true. On the contrary, it's completely increasing the number of apartments in downtown, in the city center. So this is so important. This is a crucial aspect for some cities to avoid this illegal concentration of companies in downtown. So if these companies do not want to fulfill the regulations, we need to punish them, because otherwise they are doing the urban planning on the background of the city. It's not the citizens, are not the managers of the city who are defining the urban model, is the companies who are saying which is the urbanism. So the regulation, the urban regulations is very, very, very important. I would say in a medium and short term, we also have taken, and we are taking several important decisions. Most of you know probably the Parkway, the Gaudí's Parkway in the north part of the city. 5 years ago, is a UNESCO heritage. 5 years ago, there were about 5 million people visiting this area, and now was for free. And the complaints of the neighborhood were very, very big because Barcelona is a very dense city. The coaches going there, and was so. 2 years ago, we made pay for entering in this area, in this resort or in this monument. Now the figures has decreased from 5 million to 1.5 million. We have get some resources in order to invest in the park because it requires a lot of investment for conservation and so on. And it gives also an amount to the city to manage all the other things that Don was also mentioned about transportation, mobility, signposting, etc., etc., etc. We are spreading this experience to other parts of the city. In Montjuic, in the I would say the Gothic quarter, and so on, making the operators to contribute by taxation to avoid these big concentrations. We also have a medium-term strategy that is what I have already mentioned some minutes ago about the relationship with the province tourist board and the Barcelona Tourist Board. As I have already said, we have only one strategy, only one action plan, and a common budget. And the idea is to spread the tourism through all the city. We are promoting the province. As you probably know, that Amsterdam is promoting now the beaches of Amsterdam as a part of the city. So we are promoting the caves and the vineyards as the Barcelona vineyards, as we already have done. We are increasingly having our products and services in our website. Just 1 minute of advertising. We have 50 million euros budget, okay? And about this, 55 million budget. And 50 million, up to 55, are own resources that we sell products and services. Most of these products and services are sold by our website. We have a commercial website, very successful, and probably we are the most important distributor and wholesalers in Barcelona about products and services in Barcelona as a tourist board. And 40% of all these products and services are not of Barcelona city, are from all over the province, all over, and even from Catalonia. So I think there are several aspects to be done, and of course, sharing information, sharing knowledge about how other people do these things. For example, in Berlin are being very active in developing, in Vienna as well, in Prague. I think this also could be an excellent topic for this working group. Thank you.
So I think we're at the end of our time. Just a few very brief points. These issues are dominant outside of cities as well. So you go to the major attractions like the Great Wall, the Taj Mahal, they're out of control. They're overwhelmed. At the same time, where can you get guidance? The National Park Service handles masses of people at their more popular sites with visitor management systems, pricing, hours of operation. There are management approaches to all of this. I think what we really need to have, pretty much at the graduate level, is training or retraining of existing staff or new supply in this whole area of urban tourism. And I would put place management in there too, because these places you're talking about in the greater Barcelona area are places, and then you have all the places within the Barcelona area. But Ed just reminded me that we really haven't talked much about the reality as well as the image of crime, terrorism. I mean, we have this big issue right now with Black Lives Matter. It's a tremendous, concern. So these, again, are management issues, and they're management issues that are important for the local people, the residents, and the tourists. So I think if we could find more sophisticated ways of integrating the tourist with the local residents, some of that could be done through social media and other planning mechanisms. I think we'll have a much better world. But there's a lot happening, and I think this whole challenge of whether we call it city tourism, urban tourism, is something that we should be focused on, in this affiliate council. And I think we need to bring other expertise as members of the affiliate council, so that we can be more comprehensive. I particularly think the MICE market. I think more involvement by the airports. When you look at the cities, airports are fundamental. They're the economic drivers, the development sources. And then if you look at airports in more remote areas, airports are now becoming resorts in their own right. So they're becoming like little city complexes in more remote areas. Punta Cana, for example, in the Dominican Republic, is the most active airport in the Caribbean. It's private sector, and it was developed, by private sector developers, and so on. So, thank you all for your attention, and it was a good debate. We had a debate. We had some different points of view, and appreciate your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Hawkins. Yes, this one I detected a bit of rigor. Yes, quite a bit of rigor in this one. Perhaps one minor area that we might not have touched, and we need to give some consideration to Professor Hawkins as we discuss tourism and the city, is the issue of renewal and urban decay, and what happens with inner city communities, and how does tourism transform that? Very important. The next session, we will have a number of presentations. Fitur, followed by JTB, and George Washington University, in that order. We complete those, and then we go straight into the evaluative session, after which we will break. So the floor is now open to Fitur.
So hello, good morning again. So let's start with the video, with short one, please. Do you mind? So as you have seen, Fitur is a big meeting point for the tourism community, for all the stakeholders and the general public as well. So if you would like to assist to the launching of the Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development and get inspired, or you are looking for new business networking and meet all the trade, all the stock stakeholders, or to update or refresh your knowledge and skills to face the new challenges and the changes, like the city tourism or urban tourism or cultural tourism, etc., technologies, innovation, and exchange all the experiences you have and other have, make connections, networking, then I invite you to come to Fitur in Madrid from 18th to 22 January next year. And please save the date and don't miss it. I won't miss it. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Am I the last speaker? No, okay. Hello. Yes, my name is Junichi Kumada, the representative of JTB. I just would like to share the information about how we transform the process from the legacy agent, what we call so-called legacy travel agents, to the hybrid travel agency. What we are proposing, that kind of structures in Asia Pacific. JTB at glance. Oops. Doesn't work. Thank you. The first and oldest travel agency in Japan, established in 1912 as a subsidiary organization of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That is, we are extending the hospitality to the VIP like you. That happened in more than 100 years ago. And annual turnover at this moment is 16.7 billion US dollars annual basis in 2014. JTB's global position, we are the 7th largest travel agency in the world, and #1 travel agency is in Asia Pacific. Oops, sorry. And next, please. One more, sorry. Yes. One more, please. And we have the global MICE network all over the world. Next, please. And we have also the positioning the resource market based in Asia and America. The catchphrase is departing globally. Next, please. And also we have the destination management organization all over the world, receiving the guest, arriving there globally. Next, please. So departing globally and arriving globally is our catchphrase for the 2020 at this moment. And our brand slogan is perfect moments always, like Coca-Cola. And also we are the official partner of the Tokyo 2020 as a travel service area, and also the Tokyo Olympics and also the Paralympics. So we are very keen to join the Accessible Tourism Working Group as well for to implement some new technology and concept for the 2020. We have 4 years more. About the education, for the educations, we also published the report of the named the JTB report, which is also covering the all over the Japanese overseas travelers trend, and also used by the UNWTO as well for the reference. Next, please. And also, this is just for the Japanese market. We also operating the kind of travel geography test to enrich the travel experience through the knowledge. Even though physically they are not able to go, but through the knowledge, they can enjoy the trip. And also, we are supporting the next generation to support the tourism industry with the university or the college who are specialized in the tourism industry. And we have already received the 230 examinees since 1995. Next, please. For example, like a test sample. This is the secondary levels. We propose 4 levels of the test. For example, like this arrows indicating which country is this. This is a junior high school's levels. So this is easy, right? The Australia. And next one is what is the capital city of this country? And it says the Sydney, Canberra, Melbourne, and Auckland, and you have to choose one of those. That is more a kind of a travel quiz to let the youth to join the tourism sector in the like teenagers through the school channels. Next, please. And this is a level 3. Where is this station located? Singapore, New Delhi, Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok. Singapore, New Delhi, Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok. The answer is Kuala Lumpur. This is a main station. So that is a kind of a very practical knowledge which the travel agency on the the desk for the consultancy, we provide those kind of knowledge tests to let their skills to level up. But unfortunately, this is just only available in Japanese, though. But we are ready to provide this kind of know-how to the global community as well. And also regarding the CSR, we have the project named the JTB Brighter Earth Project, and almost 130,000 clients and JTB staff joined since 1982, offering the complimentary tours, cleaning up the destinations for the sustainable way, and also support the recovery after the tsunami and also Fukushima recovery in 2011 still. And also we had an earthquake in Kumamoto this year. So we just continuing this project as well. And also regarding the intangible culture, creating the opportunity to preserve the intangible culture to give the younger generations to learn about how to dance or how to sing a song of the local folk song or local dancing through this event. We will provide the opportunity to show those local performance in front of the audience. And next, please. So transformation of the JTB was we faced the difficulties in 1995 and 2005. JTB was very huge and also could not reach catch up the rapid changes, and taking the long times to decide. And OTA started to emerge in Asia. Commission cut by airlines, from not the ANA, but the other carrier from the United States at the time. So we were facing lots of difficulties in the end of the 1990s. And what we did is actually we split the company into the 150, like an amoeba management know-how. And they also set the 18 regional headquarters all over the world to make the decision quick. and set the business domain from the travels to the multicultural communication business. So that is the that definition will inspire all of the JTB staffs to think new way of thinking, to have to start to the new way of thinking. And also the ticketing and booking of travel out of the region was the main purpose. But since 2003, we just give some duty on each local office to be a kind of DMO, destination management organizations, to promote the community outside of the region. Next, please. And also to adapt the OTA's situation, we allow the customers to book special package online and visit the retail shop for the further consultation. So this is a kind of a both way, not only for the online, but also we provide the consultancy face-to-face. So in summary, we did those transformations to place our positioning multicultural communication business, 150 small amoeba companies, hybrid retail shop with the function of DMO. That is the transition, how we adopt the market change recently. Next, please. So now we have the 550 offices all over the world in the 36 countries and 100 cities. We employ the 26,000 employees. But since 2003, we do not do any layoff at all, so very sustainable way. So that is a kind of a Japanese ways to dedicate ourselves to be a kind of sustainable tourism in the employment and decent work for the SDGs goal as well. Next, please. So result, and for the profit-wise, fortunately, annual profit became almost twice as much because of we were supported by the community. So since we moved to the more close to the community, that is our strategy, to be a part of the member of the community. And also the employees number is the same. But of course, we have to also think about the challenge, supporting the next generation, youth travel, and also the family travel. That is the very important things, which fostering the market and also the tourism sector supporter as well. Actually, in Japan, we are facing some difficulty about the social issue of the nuclear family, or living alone, or dying alone, that kind of things. So through that community-based tourism with the young power, we would like to collaborate, elaborate some new value through the tourism. And also the contribution to the destination through the DMO activities, and still designing the hybrid travel agency, and also designing the new measure for the security and safety for the Japanese travelers. We are very sensitive about the security, so once something happened, we just stop the travel. But we would like to propose with your support to define the new way of thinking to travel more from Japan. And one more, lastly, I would like to introduce some good story our seniors member, which is related during the World War II. During the World War II, Japanese ambassador in Lithuania, Mr. Ambassador Sugihara, issued a transit visa valid for Russia to US through the Japan. 15,000 Jewish refugees were transported from Russia to US through Japan, supported by our company. As you see, from the Japan Sea, there is some ferry, and on land go to the Pacific Oceans and change the vessels to the Hawaii. That was a route, and we were very proud of that. Our senior persons related to that kind of peace building programs. So even though under the difficulties, always the travel will always be with peace and also the love. Shinola Karutsun. Thank you very much. Arigato.
First of all, the umbrella, perfect moments, always. Perfect moments, always your umbrella slogan. My God, what a responsibility. Very, very risky. But on behalf of the chairman and all of us, I just wanted to put you to the test. Well, Wales is too easy to find. But Sasto and Ase, Macedonia, okay? 5 neighboring countries. Name 2. I'm just teasing you, don't worry. Just because of your test.
That is true. This is very based on the Japanese minded orientated, but of course that is also another ways to propose that this kind of opportunity to realize the market to find a new destination through the test. And even my mother is a big fan of this test. So that is the thank you very much.
Okay.
Platform again to Professor Hawkins, George Washington.
This thing doesn't work. Okay, great. That's what I want. It's okay. That's right. Okay. Thank you. I'm representing George Washington University in a general sense, but more specifically, I'm going to talk about the unit that pays the dues to the UN World Tourism Organization, and that's the International Institute of Tourism Studies. I started at George Washington University in 1971, and I taught the first course. It was called Tourism, Environment, and the Quality of Life. I think you'd call that triple bottom line now. Tourism on the economic side, environment, taking care of the cultural and the natural, resources that make tourism possible. And finally, quality of life. Take care of the local people, make sure they benefit from tourism. From there, we developed a Master of Tourism Administration, was one of the first in the world, and has developed over the years 4 specialization areas. The first one is more in the sustainable tourism planning development. The second one, because we inherited a staff person in the sports area, was sports tourism. The third was event management, which even today is our strongest program. Washington, D.C. has 3,500 associations. They all have a need for event specialists. And then lately, which is kind of counterintuitive, but we are now in international hotel management. So that's about where we are. We also have an MBA program in these areas, and occasionally a PhD program, and then an undergraduate, which is more of a Bachelor of Business Administration, with specialization in hotels, events, and so on. So we now come to the International Institute of Tourism Studies. This, we actually began our engagement on a more official level with UNWTO in 1988. We were the first university to enter into an MOU with UNWTO to create this research institute. From there, we evolved with some other universities and the leadership of Eduardo Paes into an education council that then became an Education Science Council, and GW is always an active member, just as we're an active member of the Knowledge Network right now. The Tourism Policy Forum we discussed earlier, so I won't go into that in much detail. In 2004, we brought people from all over the world to talk about the relationship between tourism and development. And I think, if you weren't here earlier, maybe this will be part of our final report, because I think we had consensus that something like that is needed again, and that the affiliate council could take leadership in that area. We've also been running for 4 years a course with the UNWTO Themis Foundation called Tourism and International Cooperation for Development, bringing people from all over the world to gain through distance learning a knowledge of the tourism sector, and then they come to Washington for 2 weeks. It's a very intensive, program, and we found it to be very, very useful, connecting our university with leaders in the world, and also taking advantage of all the resources that we have in Washington, D.C. Now, here are our goals. When you look at these goals, they're typical for universities. Universities essentially do research. We need to create knowledge, but we do a lot of application. That's why we have our degree programs. But we also have to reach out to people in the field so we can develop professional education and activities. We also, through the university, try to support and develop interdisciplinary collaboration and cooperation. I'll talk about one example a little bit later. And essentially creating, if you will, a culture of continuous improvement. These goals you'll find with most of the universities. The challenge with universities is to go from the goal into operation and making it happen, and continuing to be attractive to students, to be attractive to donors and funders. As many of you know, tourism grew rather rapidly in the higher education, environment for years, but lately we've not had the kind of support that we were used to in the early stages. There's a real challenge today as to whether or not tourism can survive in some universities. I mean, we've had our ups and downs. We have tended to survive, thank goodness. But we have other programs that have been terminated. I think one of the reasons is that there's really not that many jobs at the upper level of tourism development. I mean, we have the DMOs, the DMCs, we have the tour operators and so on, but most of the jobs are in the hotel business, and that's essentially the programs that seem to survive. But those of us who try to get involved in the upper level management systems are challenged because of the lack of career opportunities. Let me just discuss a couple examples. I already, in the earlier session, talked about the things that we do with destination management, with different organizations, particularly DMAI, Destination Marketing Association International. I wish they were here. We really have to, I think those of us who are affiliates, we have to help UNWTO and talk to our other affiliates and encourage them to come to these meetings. We have many affiliates now in the United States, and they're coming in. I've been informed that perhaps the Smithsonian Institution might join. I know that New York University is in the process of joining, but I think we have a responsibility to reach out to our other members in our countries and get them involved, get them engaged, because we have some really powerful members in the United States. We're not a member country, but what we have to do is get our affiliates, working closely with UNWTO. The urban walkability I've talked about earlier. We have a number of studies, and this really, and particularly in the youth market, I like to collaborate a little bit more with that, because we think that the youth demographic is very much driving walkable urban, along with the older early retiree markets, because they don't need that suburban environment anymore. They want to get into the cities. And we're also finding that companies are locating in walkable urban places as opposed to those remote areas. We also find that the really good jobs are tending to be in the walkable urban areas. So lots of changes are going on in that field. We've tried to operationalize it in tourism, where we create boundaries with GIS systems, and then we, on the tourism side, in addition to the real estate analysis we do, we look at the role of hotels. We've looked at the collaborative economy. We're looking at the various, advanced transportation systems, Uber and so on. And we also do an inventory of all the cultural heritage attractions and activities. And as you might guess, there is a propensity of them being located in these more walkable urban areas. So there's a really strong connection. We see the connection between urban development and tourism development being walkability. That's the connecting point. Tourism Innovation Lab was just created when I retired. The university always tries to find a way of raising some money. So they have created this fundraising activity called the Tourism Innovation Lab. And I'm working with Eduardo right now. We're trying to take that to the global level and use this to create different types of approaches to take information that's been tested and scale it. That's our problem with innovation. You can make it happen, you can test it, it's working, but how do you take it to scale? And that will be something we're going to be working on. Just a couple examples of applied research. We have hundreds of applied research activities that we've done over the years. I'll just talk about several. Very interesting working with our indigenous American Indian tribal systems, most of which are reservations. And if you will, they're almost like countries within the country. That's why they get the authority to have casino gambling in a state where gambling is not outlawed. And the problem that they've had is they've often become over-reliant on casino gambling, and they're not really playing to the strengths, their culture, their heritage. So we've now been working with Indian tribes through the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Bureau of Indian Education to help development strategies, to help them develop capacity. And we're particularly interested in some work we're doing with the community colleges on the Indian reservations. Of course, we're involved with the marketing and activities, but this has been a very, very powerful influence. And now we're reaching out to other research and development activities of indigenous people throughout the hemisphere. And if any of you are working with indigenous peoples, we'd like to create linkages. The second, just a practical thing, we're just starting a tourism strategy for the Cayman Islands. So we do very practical, applied work, a lot of data analysis, a lot of benchmarking, and even more importantly, bringing people together to discuss where they're at now and where they'd like to go in the future. The Inter-American Development Bank several years ago said, wow, we're doing a lot of tourism, but we don't have a strategy. So we worked with them and we identified different approaches to developing strategy, and then we helped them identify benchmarks and practices. And then that went into an internal process, and that then ended up being the Inter-American Tourism Development Strategy. The last one is really interesting. It's something that I started with one of our archaeology, anthropology professors, who is also a scuba diver. I'm going to finish, okay? And the concept was to identify sunken slave ships. And we had identified through marine research places where they might be. We got the National Association of Black Scuba Divers to do the exploratory work. And we did find one off the coast of Mozambique, and it's actually been a major focus of 60 Minutes. And we also have an exhibit in the new museum celebrating our African American heritage. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, George Washington University. And now we have a special intervention by Senichi Nakarawa from the JTTA. You wanted to make a very special intervention? Yes.
I thought you wanted to make an intervention on the gastronomy expo. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
last September, we held a very huge exhibition, so-called Tourism Expo Japan. 80,000 people attended. Then among them the activities, we hold a symposium on gastronomy tourism in Japan. This is the first case in Japan referring gastronomy tourism. That's why Japan has a good resources for gastronomy. But ordinary Japanese people don't know the word of gastronomy. Also, historically, Japanese people is a very natural for the food is good. So they don't think about the food is important or food is a key point of tourism. Then we JTTA had the MOU with the UNWTO last December. At that time, both parties agreed. We proceed joint project. Such that time we chosen the theme subject is gastronomy. So then first step we had a symposium in Japan. At that time, Mr. Yolanda had a tremendous keynote speech, and then 4 Japanese panelists with Yolanda exchange a discussion opinion. So that's why. So we recognize this year's in 2016 is the first year of the gastronomy in Japan. So this is so I want to incorporate with the UNWTO. Also the second step. We have the joint research on the gastronomy in Japan. We collecting the many, so agriculture or beverages stats or population issues or case study best practice, and then I want to share some of the topics in the world. So my final purpose is the bridging the Japanese regional best practice to connecting in the world. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have had a very clear position on the gastronomy exercise, and we look forward to being in Japan very soon to enjoy. In fact, I was there in Nara a couple of weeks ago for the UNWTO's technical seminar on tourism and technology. And I had a chance to experience some of the gastronomic delights of Japan. Of course, I look forward to my next visit. Thank you again. We are about to close the session, but before we do so, I'd like to open the floor for any reflection that any affiliate member would like to make on the last few days. And we have about 10 minutes for that. Then I'll ask Yolanda to do a summation of the points that we've raised and the action that we intend to pursue, after which I will close with my own comments. Thank you. The floor is open for any. Wow, okay, Yolanda?
Okay. So obviously, I think there have been so many interesting contributions that it's impossible to summarize them here. What we're going to do, we have been taking notes, and we're going to prepare a document with conclusions, with all the insights from these discussions we have had during the past 2 days. Everything is going to be posted online, and in there, in the microsite about this conference, you will find the pictures, the videos. You know, this has been recorded on video and in streaming, and you can find the videos there, and obviously all the documents, PowerPoints from all the different panelists that have been very inspiring. But I wanted to just comment 4 points, because I think they are actually very concrete actions that we can include in the action plan, because that was the whole point, to have a discussion so that we can incorporate other activities in the action plan and do more things together. The first thing, and I'm going to follow the order of the different sessions we have had since yesterday. First, I'm going to repeat a sentence from Luis, and the first thing we're going to do is to try to carry out projects to anticipate and influence the future. And in here, and to do so, we're going to create a number of working groups on different areas that were not included in the action plan, but we believe that they are extremely important and that can have an impact in all the activities we are carrying out. Therefore, we will have working groups on accessibility, climate change, scientific tourism, and youth travel. If I'm missing any, just let me know. And the thing is that in those topics, we are going to try to connect everything in those working groups with every network. Therefore, in the gastronomy network, the shopping, city tourism, and everything, we will be talking about all these topics, about accessibility, scientific tourism, youth travel. We will try to incorporate it that way. Therefore, the only thing we need to start working is that you send us a mail saying that you want to be part of any of these working groups, and then we will start trying to put together a way to collaborate so that we have an outcome as soon as possible. Second, obviously, I think from the discussion we had yesterday, we want to keep on fostering cultural tourism, and we're going to do that through the prototypes and the reports. We are going to try to incorporate even more elements connected to cultural tourism, including archaeoastronomy or any other thing that we might think can reach and make something and might generate new products and services. Third is the contribution of the affiliate members to the international year. I think the discussion this morning was extremely enriching, and it proves that affiliate members works very well, because in 5 minutes we had the conference, we had the host, we had the content and everything. So this is true public-private collaboration. I'm very proud of that. And therefore we will have 3 main projects. First is that of data sharing, and it will be led by Dr. Sato in Kyoto University with the help of all the people who want to join this project. The second is a conference on tourism and development in Jamaica led by Don Hawkins, and Jamaica will be the host country next December, and we cannot miss that. And the third one is the awareness campaign. We are going to do that, obviously, with the communication program in UNWTO, but we'll try to be very dynamic and to help them to really promote this through social media and really targeting the millennials, as it was suggested before by Russell. On city tourism, I think there are a number of activities we can include in the action plan that has already been drafted. We want to continue working the benchmarking initiative to have indicators, common methodology for obtaining data from different perspectives. We want to initiate an official approach to DMAI and WTCF so that we have everybody in the picture. We want to incorporate MICE to this city tourism strategy. We want to talk about the broader concept of urban destination, even if we keep the name cities. And we want to face the challenge of combining the needs of locals with those of the tourists. And obviously, as Edmund pointed out, the challenge of rejuvenation. And to do this, we're going to use the tools we have in the action plan, and we're going to use the web page to have all this information there so that you can enter and see what's going on. We will try to update it as much as possible. And of course, these working groups that we hope we're going to be very dynamic and help not only the affiliate members, but the whole organization. Thank you for all the wonderful contributions. You're fantastic. Thank you.
Very well.
And now perhaps the housekeeping announcement for lunch. Lunch will be served. Yeah, of course.
Just before the housekeeping, I'd like to offer my, first of all, thanks to all the participants for the really powerful and rich and vigorous contributions that we've made to the 38th plenary over the last day and a half. I'd like also to thank the government and people of the Republic of Armenia on your behalf for hosting us in this very special event that we've put on, and indeed to do it with such style, such panache, and such total accomplishment. I want to indicate how pleased we were, first of all, that Armenia agreed to be the host country, and that we hope our presence here has helped them in the process of establishing tourism as a very central economic and social activity within their space. In that context, I want to single out the Minister of Economy and his Vice Minister and the team of volunteers from his ministry and from the universities that have all participated in enabling us to have this very successful conference and meeting. I'd also like to point out that we benefited greatly from the social programs that were well organized and properly orchestrated. Last night's event is the first of the social events that I participated in, and I tell you, I enjoy the music, I enjoy the food. It reminds me so much of Jamaica. I'd like to thank the participants at the technical level in this seminar. I call it a mix of plenary and seminar. As a matter of fact, I think it's a good model that we perhaps should adopt, even in the other side of the UNWTO. And indeed, it's something I'm going to mention to Talib, because I do think this format is better, it's more interactive, and it's richer in terms of output. As you notice how very readily Yolanda was able to itemize the key points that were raised and also the action points that we will pursue. So Professor Eduardo, Professor Louis, Dr. Clive, Brianda, and of course Professor Hawkins were seminal, and they have really imparted well, and we have been really enriched by their contribution and also their managing of the sessions that they had responsibilities for. On my own account, I wanted to express my appreciation to you all for the support you gave me. This is the first plenary session that I have chaired, and I'm satisfied that I have been enriched by it. Thank you very much. Welcome to Jamaica in December 2017. Look forward to seeing all of you there, and we will have music and food, dancing, and lots of love. God bless you. Have a safe day. Now some housekeeping matters.
Hello again. So we will now be having lunch again in the same place as yesterday, downstairs. After lunch at 3 o'clock, the buses will be leaving. And we will be taken for a cultural experience. We'll be seeing a pagan temple and a cathedral, and then we will be going straight to dinner in Garni Village. So please dress warmly and comfortably, and well, this isn't your hotel, it's okay, because you will be provided blankets, but just bear it in mind. Thank you.
Casually, yes? Wonderful. And I want us to all give a very strong round of applause to Yolanda, to Adia, to Dimitri, and the team. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Dear friends, thank you everybody. Thanks, many thanks to be here. It was very productive, very productive conference. This 38th meeting would enter in history, I think. Thank you very much.